Yes, we ran late because we're
It's in there.
reviewing a lot of things last minute for a lot of pieces on the agenda this evening.
It's an
So
addendum.
therefore, if we could please stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Down, you have the roll recorded. Thank you. At this point, I will turn the attention over to Mrs. Matthews in a second. Started something last year to recognize outstanding students in school. And this is something that Janet and Bill have headed up. And this evening, we have the 2 students with us. The award that you receive and everything is a contribution from the board members that you see sitting around this table, as well as the administrators, as well as the council that is sitting here. So this is something, just a small token of what we, of appreciation and a sign of, yes, we do definitely believe in education. And with that, Janet?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure tonight to recognize the 2 recipients of this year's Easton Area School Board Community Service Scholarship. The essence of the scholarship is to provide evidence of community service, and our 2 recipients have gone way above and beyond that. The applicants also need to submit a letter from an organization that has benefited from their service to them. Academic achievement and participation in extracurricular activities are both secondary criteria here. Both recipients had so much on their applications, and we're very proud of them both. I'd like to talk a little bit about each one. I chose two items from each of their applications. So if I could please have Brianna Woodward come up first. Is Brianna here? Brianna volunteered as an assistant basketball coach for the Forks Township community team for 3 years in a row, and I understand that she was very instrumental in helping the kids be positive and encourage them to play and have good sportsmanship. And the other thing that I'd like to mention from Brianna's application is that she served the community by providing food to members of our community who unfortunately have found themselves to be in a homeless situation. And Brianna will continue her academic career at Cedarville University. So this is Brianna Woodward. If Brianna's parents, siblings, friends, other relatives are here this evening in the audience, could you please stand and be recognized as helping her? Our male recipient of this scholarship is Corey Sprenger. So now it's time to embarrass Corey. Okay, as Corey makes his way up here, the 2 items that I took from his application to give you an example of the kinds of volunteer work this young man does. He has volunteered at the Easton Area Public Library throughout the summers to help organize and run the local family nights, which is very important to members in the community. The other thing that he's volunteered to do in the community is through the Easton Peaburg YMCA. He helped organize, and did I read this right, clean?
Yes.
You cleaned?
Yes.
All right. He cleaned to help get the pre-K counts program ready to go. And Corey is continuing his education at Lehigh University. So Corey, do you have family members here tonight, friends?
My father.
So congratulations and best wishes to you both, and I'm sure that you will go on to represent yourselves and Easton Area School District very well as you continue your academic endeavors. Thank you.
Okay, continuing with the agenda then.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Under superintendent's report.
I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America advisor, Mrs. Beverly Klein, and recognize the students who attended and competed at the 3-day FBLA State Leadership Conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Without further ado, I would like to congratulate our teaching staff and also our students in regards to these outstanding achievements. Mrs. Klein will introduce our students and announce their award. In addition, we are privy tonight. Our first place winners will also present their 7-minute presentation. Mrs. Klein, can you come to the podium, please, and introduce our students? And thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to introduce my co-advisor, where'd you go? Mrs. Letourneau, who I didn't realize came up behind me. For those of you who don't know, FBLA is a co-curricular club that's sanctioned through Pennsylvania Department of Education. And we have wonderful students who work very hard for us. Corey happens to be our president, who just won the award. And Kyle Varela and Rachel Roysen Pryor took first place this year with partnership with business for a massive community service effort that they put forward. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Kyle Varela and Rachel Roysen Pryor to you and let them present their partnership with business.
So we competed in the event Partnership with Business, and our project was promoting local producers. Our chapter of FBLA has 84 members, and we meet on a weekly basis with officers and then on off weeks with the whole chapter. And our club is 68% white, 17% black, 12% Hispanic, and 3% Asian. We partnered with Buy Fresh, Buy Local, which is a nationally trademarked brand for locally grown foods. It tries to connect consumers to these foods, which in turn will help build the local economy. And we saw an ad to work with them and applied. The West Ward Neighborhood Partnership was another group that we partnered with, and they help people in the West Ward, and one of their projects is an urban farm which helps their residents get food from the garden, and we learned about the work they do through Buy Fresh, Buy Local, and approached them to see if they needed any help.
Once our partnerships were developed, our executive committee organized a meeting with all of the partners to discuss goals and objectives throughout the project. So our first goal was, or our overall goal was to increase fresh food access for low-income residents in the Greater Lehigh Valley. This includes creating promotional videos for local organic farms in the area, spreading awareness about what they're selling and how consumers can be connected with them. And it also includes building an urban farm fence around an urban farm in the West Ward. In addition, our individual chapter goal is to maximize participation and teach business skills to each of the students so that they can really get a hands-on experience with our project.
To reach our goals, we created 5 different committees. Our executive committee was made of our chapter officers and our 2 advisors. Our solicitation committee was in charge of seeking donations for the fence. Our marketing committee created the videos we talked about and also flyers to spread through the community. Our entrepreneurship committee looked for ways that we could make the garden profitable, and our construction committee will actually be going out and building the fence.
As for the roles of business leaders and chapter members in implementation of our project, we would have business leaders come in. For example, we had the director of Buy Fresh, Buy Local come in, and she would come to training seminars to teach business skills. They would attend the executive committee meetings with our executive committee. They supervise chapter members in the implementation stages, and they use their resources, whether it be their social media or their staff, to help promote their projects. Chapter members in each of their committees did work pertaining to that committee. For example, the marketing group developed the farm videos, they developed ads, flyers, brochures, all working towards marketing and spreading awareness of our project.
The motivation for students to help with this project was their internal motivation to succeed, and we also signed off on volunteer hours if they needed them. And they also had a desire to improve the community as some of them lived in it. Businesses also got a tax incentive, and their name will be on a sign at the fence, and they also want to help their community.
As our goal in our FBLA chapter was to teach chapter members different business skills, we did so in 3 different stages. In the development stage, that's where chapter members learned how to utilize their logistics, how to use proper, effective business communications when organizing projects. In the training stage, that's when we would have the business leaders come in and teach them how to do things pertaining to that committee. For example, we would have people come in and talk about how to manage finances, how to market to wide audiences. And then in the implementation stage, that's where each chapter member gained hands-on experience. So the solicitation committee actually drafted up sponsorship letters, met with business leaders, and tried to solicit funds. For evidence of publicity, this is an example of an article we posted in our school paper, the Rover Pause. Here is a sample of 9 of the 20 YouTube videos that we published. They were all made by our marketing committee. Here on the right is the sample letter that our sponsorship committee produced. And then on the left we have, flip that around. On the right is the information sheet outlining what our farm project is, who to contact, and what we need.
The impact of our farm videos was that we provided free marketing to farmers that either wouldn't know how to go about getting it or couldn't afford it. It also spread awareness to the community about these farms. We visited 20 local farms from Saylorsburg to Ole Valley, and we've had over 1,000 viewers.
As for the impact of our fence project, we have made the farm more successful. With the new fence, it's keeping out groundhogs from destroying the crops, so we are increasing the crop yield. And also now the fence looks really nice and there's a sign, so it's really helping with farm promotion. In addition, the community is benefiting more because local organic food is more nutritious and healthier. And in addition, we are improving the local economy. According to a study conducted in Maine, for every $1 spent at a national chain, only about 14 cents of it stays within the local economy. However, for every $1 spent at a local retailer, such as this urban farm, more than 3 times the amount, 45 cents, stays within the economy. So as we progress through these next few weeks and finalize our projects, we look forward to improving not just our community, but our neighborhood too.
We really got a benefit from this and hope that our future business leaders of America will continue to benefit from working with them. Thank you for listening. Do you guys have any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you very much. Very inspiring, very committed, and it's a wow. It's a wow, so thank you. Kudos for your work.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
And thank you to our teachers and everyone else that supports these efforts, our parents as well. Last night was an auspicious occasion as we celebrated the 157th annual commencement of Easton Area High School. I would like to congratulate our class of 2013, as these students have represented our district well, and we wish them much success in all future endeavors. In addition, I would like to applaud the efforts of our parents and staff and all stakeholders as they worked collaboratively for the success of our students. In closing, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our staff, parents, and community, and also our school boards throughout my tenure for their unwavering support and dedication to our students and district, and also during my tenure as a superintendent. It has been my distinct honor to work with you and wish you continued health, peace, and resiliency as we continue to educate for life's journey. Thank you, as this concludes my report. Once a rover, always a rover. So thank you.
Joan, any other communications? Under reports, the IU, Dr. Moskaitis.
Yes, Mr. Fainall. The IU-20 has been very busy too with year-end activities, but a few highlights is there's nothing new in ongoing contract negotiations, but there's 3 other areas that I think are worth noting. The IU-20 is working on their teacher effectiveness team. There's a new teacher evaluation system going into use. We probably want to keep tabs on that as you go forward. IU-20 has been approved as a TAC 2 training center, so for behavior modification issues. I think that's a plus for the local region. And then lastly, Tom Bailey, who is the IU Technology Director, has been working with the member districts and looking at something called a Data Quality Council. And essentially what this is a local version of you have to make sure your data is good if it's going to be meaningful. The old computer term, garbage in, garbage out, still applies, and so this is something of high importance for all the local districts. That's it, Mr. Fainall.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, CIT, Mr. Ryder, Mr. Vandenberg.
Last we met on CIT was last Thursday. I believe that was the 6th or the 7th. I can't remember what exactly the date was. Highlight of the meeting was the completion of the support staff contract. We have got that taken care of. I believe that concludes our contract talk at CIT. As always, I would also like to thank Dr. Roth on his continued leadership and success at CIT. And congratulations to our CIT students who walked across the aisle last night. And I don't think I'm missing anything. That's all.
Just one other quick addition. We did have the Senior Awards Night, which several scholarships were given out, just national and state recognition for the kids' contributions in their various skill areas. And it's really neat to see that because these kids are walking out in the world with a great deal of preparation. It's neat. Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Fainall. Their foundation committee met today. They approved, was at the meeting, they approved three people to sign their checks. 2 have to be live, 1 by facsimile. Also, I took part in the Teacher of the Year program. I was fortunate enough to pick the teacher who became Teacher of the Year. From the foundation committee, the teacher was awarded $1,000 for his effort and so forth. So not only did the kids come out ahead, this is one case where the teachers were allowed to submit their own application and fill out it was quite an extensive application, and they were then interviewed, and then the points were added up for both, and one person won $1,000. The foundation committee has roughly $50,000 in it, and did give out quite a few scholarships, as he noted. I missed that meeting. My knee was sort of filled up with water that week, and I couldn't do too much. But I did sign quite a few checks as treasurer for those scholarships. And the one thing I think the people should know is not only do we give out scholarships, and we do give them to the college, not to the student, is that the best thing we give out is a tool scholarship. We give out 1 or 2 tool scholarships. So a kid who gets a job in a trade and needs $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 worth of tools in order to get that job, we send him either to Home Depot or Lowe's, give him a dollar amount, and that's sent back to us, and we pay that. And I think we're the only VOTEC, if you want to call it, technical school, we're not, in the state that gives out such a scholarship. And I think that's, out of everything, I'm really proud of that. I came up with it, but it's the fact that we're letting a kid who isn't going on to college, but going into a trade, get a scholarship. And I think that's terrific. And also honoring the teacher and those teachers that are retiring. So I think they have some fantastic teachers there, and when they lose a good teacher, it's very, very hard to replace. So that's what I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that? Hearing none. Community college. We had a very short meeting. We recognized various teachers that were being promoted into professorships, assistant professorships, and things like that. We reviewed various academic programs, which we can talk about at another meeting. Talked about new programs, and had some discussion about the Monroe campus, and as you've read in the paper, some discussion about the possibility of another dorm at the college.
Yes.
Which in essence brings in students from various areas, which helps culturally and everything with sharing of ideas.
Yeah.
And that concludes that report.
And Mr. Fainall, I'd just like to report something. One of the community college from my wife, who sits on the alumni board, is that the alumni board has reached to a position that they are #1 in the nation. They have over 30,000 active members given to the community college. I think you were aware of that, you heard that. But that was last week when they had their meeting, that was official, that they have 30,000 students, former students, that are giving to the school, and they give quite a bit to the foundation committee, and they had their wrap-up meeting for the year, and now they go to the new year. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's something, when we say about them paying their own way, I mean, when you get that many students, former students that are given money, and a lot of them big money for the gymnasiums, the two they gave for 2/3 of the gymnasium, I think that's terrific. So they do, in a way, pay their own way.
Excellent, thank you for that. Legislative. Mrs. Johnston.
Okay, we have, the PSBA is in the process of getting ready to submit or work on their legislative platform. So if there are any local board members that have interest in submitting legislative proposals to our platform, if we could get them to me so that we can get them to PSBA before June 28th, that's the due date. So I'll just put that out there. The other thing is that the state legislature has been working and in conversation on a lot of different issues. One of them is Common Core that they've most recently been talking about. So that has some interest in many of the citizens in the state. And it'd be interesting. I forwarded the report to everyone in case you hadn't got it, so that you can read what they've actually talked about this month. And then PSBA also has been doing they did a proposal or a presentation and testimony on school safety. And I just wanted to bring that up because that will become more of a pertinent issue, I think, given the current events that have occurred over the last several months of this year. And I think that's it.
Good, thank you. Mr. Cook, that time of the program.
Mr. Fainall, there will be no student report. Jean Gabat graduated last night, so I look forward to this fall introducing to you our new president, which will be Caitlin Rodriguez. So when the fall comes, we'll see a new face up here at the microphone on a monthly basis. But Jean graduated last night, so we gave her the night off.
Yeah, nice, very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
PTA, Dr. Gillian.
Same old face, this year and next year. You've got me back. First of all, I want to let you know some of the things that the PTAs have been doing the last few months. Of course, we've been in wrap-up mode. That means a lot of end-of-year festivals and carnivals and finishing up field trips and the like. So the Cheston had a Cougar Day and celebrated the warm weather with outdoor fun, a BMX bike assembly, a picnic provided by the PTA, a misting hose. March had one of those too. That must be the newest thing. Very refreshing. The fourth graders celebrated their day at Cheston with a send-off lunch and yearbooks. I know the March Elementary PTA does that too. Not everybody could afford those yearbooks, and so that was something that I think a lot of PTAs are starting to jump in and do those. Similarly, Tracy hosted a Tracy Tiger Day, carnival activities, crafts, treats. They also went to announce that they were able to provide 2 educational field trips per grade level, which is pretty phenomenal, and it speaks to something I want to return to in a moment, which is that some PTAs have the ability to do that and others don't, and I want us to think about that, what that means for our district. March was given a lovely award by the school for its service and its commitment and dedication to the school community. March will be celebrating 100 years next year, and so the PTA is going to have a huge role in that as well. We also had our end-of-year PTA scholarships that we gave out. It's worth noting that the PTA Council scholarship went to Jean. I hoped to congratulate her, but wasn't thinking about the fact that she's moving on to greener pastures. The more serious thing that I want to raise, and it's related to what I've been raising for this whole year, is I speak to a lot of people in my capacity as PTA president. I get a lot of worried people, and I get a lot of people who are really trying to decide what to do. And that goes for teachers, that goes for secretaries, that goes for support staff, and it goes for families. So I see all ends of the spectrum. I see parents who are deciding whether to stay in Easton School District, right? Parents who are deciding whether this is the time to send their kids to one of the private schools in the area. And I also see support staff who are aware of the fact that they were maybe able to get kids who are struggling to a certain level, right, on level with their peers up till several years ago, right? And once cuts started and they're stretched and they have to go to more than one school, they don't see those kids rising up at the same level. And it struck me that those are such different kinds of concerns, right? Everybody has concerns. Everybody has worries and hopes and ambitions and dreams for their kids. They're different sorts of problems, right? This is related to that PTA point I was making a moment ago, which is that the PTA steps in and does great things for the schools. It plans educational trips, but it doesn't do that equally, right? March doesn't fund a field trip for every class, let alone 2. And it's fabulous that we have schools that are able to do that. But it sent me back to thinking about the great equalizer in a community as a school, right? So that we are benefited by booster clubs and by PTAs and by different organizations that step in and can fill some of those gaps that we have. But it's the school district that has to be the equalizer. And I want to leave you with that thought, because you have major decisions still ahead of you, right? You have decisions about who's going to stay and who's going to go, right? What are we going to do with programs? Sure, we have a finite finite means, but we've got to be as robust and as equalizing at the community level as possible. So that's where I want to leave us. Dr. McGinley, thank you for your time. The roundtables that Dr. McGinley had once a month for the PTA were fabulous, and I hope that your predecessor will continue them. And best of luck in your next endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, standing committee reports. You'll see that academics had a meeting this past month, and nothing for policy or athletics. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm here on behalf of the EAEA, and I'm speaking for Jenna Broadhead this evening. She, as in great Jenna tradition, sent me exactly what she would like me to present this evening, so I shall be doing that for her. She wanted to make sure that you knew that the EAEA recognized the Teacher of the Year for 2012-13, and that was Barb Boyer, special ed teacher at the high school who's been there for, I believe, 33 years now, and has done just a tremendous job. I know Barb well, and she's just super. So they actually presented her with a crystal apple this morning in front of the faculty and so forth. So that we're very pleased about. In addition, Jenna said she would like to extend a big thank you to Lieutenant Romali of the Easton Police Department. The active shooter drills that were conducted with the local law enforcement were an excellent opportunity for collaboration, but an even better opportunity for education. This is an exercise that all district employees should be afforded on a regular professional education basis. Having participated in the drill at March, not only did she get to experience a situation which she hopes to never encounter as a teacher, but she was given the opportunity to learn how she can better help her students at a time of crisis in the future. Lieutenant Romali ran a top-notch simulation and deserves to be commended for his professionalism and genuine care and concern for the community and the students of our district. In addition, I'd like to say that on behalf of the EAEA, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to the entire staff, all the departments, whether it be bus drivers, whether it be maintenance, whether it be paraprofessionals, every single person who gave their best effort this year for education in this district, and with so much less. So I'll leave it at that. I also want to make people aware, if you've not contacted or get information from your local legislators, you should. One of the good pieces that is coming down the pike for Easton Area School District, as long as the Senate out in Harrisburg passes it, is an additional $1.4 million coming to this district. So curious to see how the Easton Area School District manages that. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you. Okay, moving on. Now into the standing committees. There was only one this past month, academics, and the others took a month off. Any comments on those committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to the point of the agenda. If anybody would like to address the board this evening, I ask that you come on on agenda topics at this point in time, that you please come forward, state your name and address, sign in as you're at the podium. I'm seeing no hands. Okay, moving on. I am going to look for the number 9, approval of minutes, number 10, executive session report. Can I have approval of both of those?
Motion. So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Under personnel, try to take retirement separately. May I have a motion?
Motion.
With?
I thought you
With
were
regrets?
doing that separately.
Retirements, yeah, with
Oh, you're
regrets.
doing that first, okay, with regrets, yes.
Yep.
Second with regret.
Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We have resignations, leave of absence, salary increments, elections. I'm looking that we can take all personnel as listed. Is there any issue with that? All the way through the resolutions down to number 12, academics.
Hold on.
You're looking for I, the national teacher?
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. There is a question on one. I want to pull N out separate.
And out separate.
N is separate.
How about summer school? We've had discussion about that.
Would you like me to pull that separate? Sure.
I'd like to pull that separate because I think we need to make that verbal adjustment for the years to come.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill, I appreciate that.
Intramural coaches, okay there. You're stopping at where?
We're going to we're going to do them all through 12, but we will take J and N separate afterwards.
And staffing resolutions, you want to do that with the group, or you want to do that separately?
You tell me.
I think it should be done separately.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do separately. Anything else? You want to pull out letter R, administrative reorganization too?
Please.
Okay. Are we good then? Any other?
repeat what you're taking out?
We're going to pull out. Okay? We're going to pull out J, summer school, N, response to level 4, O, staffing, and P, administrative reorg.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, R. I wrote over the top of it here.
All right.
We good?
Motion for everything else?
Motion for everything else. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll take J for summer school separate.
Motion.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now I'll bring up, I think, what Bill was talking about. And that is, as we do this next year, that we have, as part of the motion, so I'll go back and ask the person making the motion in the second, and Bill, see if you agree. And that is that the study be completed and everything to make sure that we make the adjustments on the income to properly reflect the dollars that we spend on summer school. And so that then the cost per student can be adjusted accordingly.
Agreed.
Bill?
Yes, and that the adjustment then will indicate that there'll be no cost to the district. So from an administrative perspective, right on down through secretaries and teachers, summer school has always been run as basically a tuition-driven program. And last year, we were made aware that it cost the district dollars and cents. So we need to take a strong look at that, go back over the last several years, and basically clean it up and move forward, that it still then remains a tuition-based program to cover the cost of the employees. No district funding.
The person made the motion in the second. Are you both okay with that? Mr. Hawkins?
So then discussion can commence, or?
Yeah, at this point now, any comments or other questions?
So is this a new issue? I mean, so what Mr. Ryder is saying, I agree with, is that the summer school program, the intent is that it be self-funded, right? That it's not an extra burden or cost to the district.
Correct.
Correct.
Do we have reason to believe that that is not the case?
There's some suspicion that that's not the case and that hasn't been done or looked at in years. I think last year we heard, but we don't know if the accounting's correct, that it could have been a $20,000 loss.
$20,000.
Correct.
Is there a timing on when we might have such a report as to what the condition of the summer school program is?
Look to Mr. Simonetto on that one.
To be safe, at the latest, at the October or August committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We have N, response to level 4 grievance. I will take that.
Motion.
The second? Pardon?
Motion to what?
Oh, motion,
Motion to reject.
motion to reject.
Deny.
Right,
Gotta be
isn't that
one
what
of
the recommendation?
No, no, no. No, you have to make the motion accordingly.
Yeah, to reject.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We have the staffing resolution that had been prepared. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Comments and discussion? Any comments?
Yes. Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that this is in regard to all positions in the district.
Correct.
So any notices that have been sent out, if we could just get a clarification for the board, so that all are aware that any notices that have been sent out are temporary notices, is that what you were saying?
All of the notices that our staff receive are tentative assignments for the following year. Therefore, the administration can report if it is needed throughout the summer, they can reassign staff as needed. every year, the last 5 days, it's contractual that they receive their notice, and they are tentative assignments.
And I just wanted that clarification for the public.
Well, except that there'll be other notices sent out.
Right, so-
Based on these
That's the
resolutions.
clarification that we need to make sure.
Based upon the staffing adjustments, sorry. With regard to any staffing adjustments which result in suspension, layoff, or termination, there will be separate notices sent out following this resolution tonight, which are different than what Dr. McGinley has described.
Can we also, at this point in time, from the administration, have a breakdown on the retirements and the actual numbers of, I guess I would look at teaching positions first, and through attrition, how many we're actually furloughing? I think the public needs to know that.
We have 21 staff members through attrition and 11 through furloughing.
But they're not all in the classroom environment. They're in various positions, correct?
That's correct. They're teachers, they are administrators, they are custodial, and they are paraprofessionals. It's encompassing the entire district.
Wait, what was
Okay.
the second number? It's
There are
21?
21 through attrition and 11 furloughs.
And on that 19 with teachers, how many do we have there through attrition?
There are 14 through attrition.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Let me just comment, so there's no confusion. Some of those, what Dr. McGinley described as furloughs, will actually, on the documents that you're acting on, be noted as terminations, but there are contractual rights that they may assert afterwards. So it amounts to the same thing. Just want to make that clear.
Other questions?
And can somebody administratively give me a breakdown of how we're going to then deal with the coaches that are going to be released? In regards to who's going to make the decisions as to what coaches are going to be released? Is that going to be through the athletic director? Is that going to be through the head coaches? How is that going to be achieved that we're going to be losing 11? And are they all-encompassing sports?
The athletic director works with all of the head coaches, and the head coaches will determine what coaches within their respective sports will no longer be with us next year.
Okay. Something I think it needs to be brought up in reference to coaches. I don't think it's appropriate to do that at this point in time for next year, but I think in years to come, I think we really need to look at this as an athletic committee and as a board and administration. Is that when coaches retire, they not only retire from education, they retire from coaching. What I think that does, and we have some excellent coaches in this district who have retired as educators who are still coaching, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I've coached with some of those people. They're outstanding. But I've always looked at it as teachers coach and coaches teach. And I think we lose that through retirement. The other thing that concerns me is we have some excellent assistant coaches that could probably move up sometime in their coaching careers. And because of people who are retired and stay on, and the PIAA says they can, we don't give those young individuals, who are quality coaches a lot of times, an opportunity to move up through the ranks. And it bothers me, concerns me, not bothers, concerns me, when we have coaches who have retired, who are receiving dollars, and we may have coaches on the staff who are teachers who could be losing their jobs as coaches. That's concerning to me. And like I said, the people who are in their head positions now who have retired are outstanding individuals. And I'd hate to cut their legs out from underneath them. But I think it's something we need to look at in the future, not necessarily for 13, 14, but down the line, I think we as a board and as an athletic department and as an educational component for students need to look at teachers coach and coaches teach. Thank you.
Okay. Back to staffing resolution. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, the other one that we skipped over was our administrative reorganization plan. And we have a motion.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to academics. We have the field trips, Silvestri contract, class of 2013 graduation, which was last evening. The CPEC calendar, which we've discussed in the past. The curriculum revision cycle, which was presented to us, and I will stop there. I will take the math course separately. Can I have a motion for all the other items?
Motion. So moved.
A motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I think it's really great to have a curriculum revision. But the reality of it is, based on dollars and cents, that needs to be looked at and possibly altered. And I think that has to be part of this whole, if we're going to look at curriculum revision, which I obviously support as an ex-principal, you have to break down your curriculum and see what your needs are. And obviously, you do that in sequence and segments. But the reality of it is, dealing with the dollars and cents issue, I think we also have to go back and revisit that each year that we do it.
Other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under the math course. Pull out my notes on that one. We want to make sure that we're perfectly clear on this as it gets voted and everything. And notes and notes. Yeah. Where did I put the notes from there? In essence, the yes vote, there it is. A yes vote or affirmative vote on this, okay, will mean that the resolution that was passed earlier this year by the board still stands. Well, I'm sorry. A yes vote, correct that. A no means that the resolution previously passed this year by the board still remains. A yes vote means, in essence, it says the administration can do whatever they would like to do, which means continue with the math course as they had this past year. So, very careful as you think about this. I ask for the motions accordingly. Bill, do you have any other comments on that, or we're good for right now?
I think yes means the same sequence, but there are also some other concerns by board members, and well, I think we just need to open that up. I know Carrie has some concerns.
Okay, do we want to get this open on the floor with a motion and a second of some kind to begin with?
Motion.
To do what, though? Yeah. That's the tricky part here.
Well, I think that you motion and then second, and then we'll get into a discussion and perhaps revisit the.
Yeah, but it has to be a motion and a second to do what?
Mr.
The
President?
way it's written.
To-
I'll make a motion to do the same sequence as we have done this past year, to collect data, and to really then evaluate that as the year progresses to see what is actually best for students. And there's probably a little bit more to that.
But I think that.
Well, we got the motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
Now let's alter, and then we can go back and make sure.
Well, you've already altered the resolution as the way it was written then.
Well, let's just do
Right?
then, yes, same
I mean-
sequence, and then let's alter it as we.
Right, he made the motion, though, the way he sees the motion, so we're good that way.
Well, whatever.
I-
I mean, the
yeah.
motion's written a certain way. We should motion and second it, and then have a discussion, and perhaps revisit how the
Yeah.
resolution's written.
John?
You should have administration explain what the motion means or what they think it means.
But, Mr. President, I'd like to say this motion is very ambiguous.
Right.
And I would like a no vote on this because it really, in a sense, reverses what we did a couple months ago. It opens this to more than AB as we planned it to be.
That's why Bill made a motion accordingly and everything.
Right. But his motion was to do what we did this year.
Same sequence.
Yeah, and I'm saying that we don't want to do the same sequence.
Do we have an explanation as to where the administration wanted this motion to read, how they wanted it to read? And then we will motion and second and have a discussion.
The person that made the motion, are you okay with removing the motion? Bill? You okay with removing it, so we have nothing on the table right now? Until the administration represents what they think?
Yes, because I can always come back.
Yes, correct. And the person that seconded it?
That's fine.
Thank you. Sue?
The motion is to maintain the AB schedule. That was one. Another motion was to have one semester course of math and the option of AB when we see that it is necessary, as we currently have it this year. Another motion was to have a year-long math course. And year-long could be a semester, or it could be 2 semesters. Year-long would be that it would be every day. That was one of the things that the board had said, that you wanted math every day. So it could be math for 1 semester every day, or if the board wanted to see it for an entire year, it could be that course spread out throughout the whole year, or it could be 1 semester with the content of, say, Algebra 1, and then the next semester would be Algebra 2. So there are a couple different ways of looking at this.
So what was the intent then of the motion
What was the
here?
recommendation?
The intent is to see if the board wanted a full year of math, meaning that every single day you want students in math. And if that's the intent of the board, then you can achieve that through an AB schedule.
Doc, may I ask a question?
No, that's
Or-
not
May-
right.
Yes.
May I ask a quick question? If we were to entertain a motion to put full year math in with just the scenario that you explained, with Algebra 1 in the beginning of the year, for example, and Algebra 2 in the second part of the year, would that effectively shorten the amount of courses, well, the amount of time that students would spend in math, given their 4 years in class?
No, because the board has asked for it to be for a full year. So if the board is asking for it to be a full year, if that scenario applies, then students would have 8 semesters of math.
Right, I'm talking credit-wise, and what they need to effectively graduate.
It would go above what the current credit is. It would go above that.
So would that then supersede what we have set as 4 credits of math, the requirement? Okay.
I think that this requires a lot more visitation. I think that what the board had asked for originally was that math would be given all year, every day, period. And that's what we assumed was going to occur. And it didn't occur, and therefore we're in the position we are now. So my assessment of this whole situation is that the board would still like to see math all year, every day.
And we need to analyze how effectively that can be done. And I think that it takes some time to do that. It should have probably been done before we instituted block scheduling. These whole scenarios that should have happened didn't. So where we are right now is, could we look at playing out this coming year the way we have this year, this current year, 2012-13. And this year they use the time to do the studies, research what's out there with all the data, and then come to a conclusion at some point through the year as to how we can institute this for next year. I mean, the goal of the board is to see math every day, all year.
Carrie, just to clarify, because this seems to be a question everybody always comes up with. When we say every day, we mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't mean on an A-B type schedule,
Right.
correct?
Every day is every day. It's not, I mean, that's why I made it clear.
Yep.
It's every day, all year. And that was I believe, and maybe I'm misinterpreting, but I believe that's what we had come to the conclusion of as a board. Am I correct, Dr. Mosquitis, or am I?
Not quite,
Okay.
Mrs. Ellison.
Okay.
The resolution that we passed earlier this year required that math be taught as a full year mode. Full year. Says nothing about every day. And the issue of contention was, how is it best to deliver math education? So at the committee meeting, which was 2 weeks ago tonight, we had this discussion in which I once again presented the body of evidence and data that suggests that there is not an advantage to doing semester-only courses. Primarily because when you do that, you leave open the opportunity for a student, for example, to take math in the fall of freshman year and not to revisit a math course again until spring of their sophomore year. I can find no evidence that this is a wise move, and therefore I've been rather adamant that a much wiser course would be full year math. I think you were involved with the studies for flex scheduling.
Right.
How many years did I could go on?
How many years did the study go on?
Yes, how long was that studied by this district?
We started it 2 years prior to us voting on a block scheduling. However, I won't say that it was on a continued basis, and I won't say that it was researched to the fullest extent that it should have been.
And if you remember last year, probably in June, we were guaranteed that math would be delivered as a full year course. And much to our surprise and chagrin, we found out in August that in fact, that is not the way the schedules were arranged. So here we are 1 year later with the same relative to debate. I would have suspected that 2 years of planning might have uncovered all the research necessary to have made a wise decision. And it confounds me why people believe that the only data that is valid is data that is generated within the confines of the Easton Area School District. Since this scheduling concept has been in play nationally for probably over 25 years. During this discussion last year, I had many directors at the IU come up to me, including neighboring districts that are succeeding, and tell me they avoided flex scheduling, block scheduling, because of the math issues. We decided to proceed. I have yet to hear good academic reasons why we should continue. I hear scheduling reasons that it fits the way we want to run our high school schedule. Math is a difficult language. It's a language of science. It's one that requires practice. And I think this is one that should have been settled last year. We thought we did. It did not. Now you have an opportunity to rectify that.
Other comments, questions?
I do want to take one thing into account, Mr. President, that we, in the essence of putting our best feet forward and making the right decision for our students, it's important to keep in mind that this is seemingly a roller coaster ride for our students. And I'm not, and I don't think that the board should be willing to continue a roller coaster ride. I think that we should not move so hastily in making these adjustments, being that they are brand new. This is our first year in. Whether or not more thought should have been given previously, I don't think that it's conducive to our situation to debate that now. As it stands, let's try to do what is right for our students and make sure that they progress appropriately and keep them on a path moving forward, and not a path where they have to readjust in every 3 semesters or every year to changes made by administration.
I'm going to ask one question. You know, listening and hearing this, I have one thought about it. There's 2 pieces to this. One is, what do we have to do this year to complete the scheduling, number 1. And number 2, that we wait until next month and then let Mr. Reinhardt come forward with a timetable and everything of how to look at and come back with a final recommendation and solution. Understanding and hearing what's been requested and everything already, to see how that can then move forward.
The only concern I would have with that is that they need to move forward with scheduling for this coming year.
That's why I said we
and
have-
that's a problem to wait until another month.
No, Carrie, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we have 2 decisions to make. Decision 1 is, how do we want to see it move forward for this year for scheduling? And the second decision is, if everybody would agree, is that we let Mr. Reinhardt come forward next month with how he looks at it and everything for the future year. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
I think there's a lot of validity to that, because I think the scheduling needs to go through. And at this point in time, I would like to see same sequence, which some courses are AB. The majority of courses are semester courses. I think we have to look at, with our reorganization and having somebody in charge of our secondary curriculum, I think we have more eyes on it in reference to looking at keystones, looking at what success we've had, where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, and get a little bit more collaboration through the principal, schedulers, guidance, teachers, curriculum director, and have a more openness when we do committee work to get briefed repeatedly and make the educational committee part of every month, to get that briefing, to get that update, to get that data analysis, because I think we need to give this some time to work. That's where I'm at this point in time. So yes, there's validity with John coming in and taking a look at it and doing some more evaluation. And I know with our reorganization this evening, we're going to have a director of secondary, and I think that's an excellent choice, and we can move forward.
Okay. Other comments?
I think this is a very convoluted issue now. And if we change something again for next year, I'm looking at what Barron is talking about, the kids being on a roller coaster. It would be the third year of something different for, I guess, our juniors.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the best thing to do. I've been looking for research. I don't know. National Council of Teachers of Mathematics can't make a decision. The articles that I've found and archived basically are 50-50. It depends a lot on the schools. It depends on the size of the schools, demographics of the schools, socioeconomic conditions of the schools. This is not an easy topic. So I think for us to make a decision here tonight on something different, I think I'd like to do what Mr. Ryder is talking about, and Mr. Fainall.
Other comments? If not, I need to entertain a motion here.
Well, before we move on, I mean, I just think that it needs to be recognized that we're all stating here that there are issues with math. I mean, every single person here is stating, and there's issues with making changes to every year for 3 years in a row. We all understand it. We're trying to get this system right. And despite what Barron says, you can't help but say that if you had done all the research ahead of time before you implemented a huge program such as block scheduling, we wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this, but we are. So we can't erase that. And the fact of the matter is we need to move forward in a methodical way. And my thought and my statement was, if you do put in place for this coming year the way it was last year, that's fine, but recognize that we need and we want data that concerns how many students have math a year apart. You'll be able to get that data this coming year because you'll be able to see what they had this year for students and the numbers that had math a year later versus a semester later. Those are some of the concerns of continuity, and those are the numbers that I want to see because I know, and looking at the studies that we all have read, I mean, I read oodles of them when we were doing the study, is that there are a lot of indications that you need to have math on an ongoing basis, and that's the point that Mrs. Corson is saying, is that it's productive to have math every day and not have a 3-day long weekend in between. She isn't necessarily, and I won't put words in her mouth, but I don't think that necessarily means semester versus all year, but she's saying she wants to see students on a continued basis, day in, day out, every day. In addition to that, I would like to see, and that's one of my biggest concerns, based on the data that I see nationally, is that one of the big flaws of this is that we miss math for an entire year for a large number of students, and that's not good. All the data points to that, so I want to see those kinds of things that come into play here. And the other problem, we don't have the Keystone to compare because we only have 1 year Keystone.
Well, the overall debate can take care in the committee meeting, so tonight we have to make a decision of
But
what
the
we-
resolution should include this.
That's absolutely correct, so that's what I need, a motion. Would you like to make that motion then, Carrie?
My motion would be that we continue on for this coming year with the flex scheduling as it stood this past year, with the condition that we are researching and looking at the data to how best implement math the following year.
Sort of having Mr. Reinhardt come back with his timetable.
Right.
Okay. And can you include that as part of the motion? Would you include that as part of the motion?
That, if that's part of, right.
Do I have a second?
Can we make a comment before the
I need a
second?
second first.
Second.
Thank you. Yes.
Comment. Given the resolution that was just made, the motion that was just put forth by Ms. Allison, I do think it's important that if we make a mandate to require that this data and research be put in place, that it not be conclusive of but inclusive of our own district data, and how this has worked or not worked for us given this year once we get all of the reports and data that we need. I just want that to be stated publicly so it would be
I think
acknowledged.
that's going to come as part of the debate and everything at the committee meetings, because that's where we're going to have to ask for all those things. Again, I think we have to wait and see, again, how John comes forward, what he brings, what his timetable is, and, you know, hopefully next year we're not sitting at this late a date making that final decision. I think that's probably the biggest hope of this board, that we wouldn't be sitting here at that latest date.
And Mr. President, it's amazing that 3 or 4 months ago, we sat here and we had a quite extensive debate. And we voted, it came down to 5-4, that we would have math a full year. Okay, and now we are reversing that decision and going to, you know, basically whatever the cards fall. And I was in the negative, but I have a positive view now that math should be a whole year. We are, Dr. Moskaitis is right, nationally, we are falling behind in math. And if our kids go from the first semester in their freshman year to their second semester in their sophomore year, a whole year without math, even if it's whatever it is, Algebra 1, and they try to take geometry or Algebra 2, they're going to retain very little. If it's Accounting 1 and it's Accounting 2, they will retain very little of it. So unless it's repeated, and it's going to semester, and it's a full year, I think we will lose. And waiting another whole year and taking now 3 years to have 3 different things is not going to change that much. We're going to get data that I don't know if the data is going to be sound or not. And there is a lot of mixed data out there, and some school districts have, instead of what we're doing, have what they call a 6-week school district. They start with A and they go to F. So we're talking about, well, what happens if there's a Monday and they miss it? In a 6-week school district, if you end with A, when you come back Tuesday, you're on B. You didn't miss a day. And so that's what we should be looking at. And then we don't miss any math days. Then we have a full year of math.
I think they already have that at the high school, because I see the sign up when you walk in that tells them which day they're
Right,
actually
which day,
on.
I think they do. But I'm saying is that's why we're not missing anything. We're collecting that data because we do that already.
Any other comments? We had the motion and the second on the floor. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Okay. Opposed?
No.
No.
Joan?
Mrs. Ellison? Yes. Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Dr. Moscotis?
No.
Mr. Kindergarten? Mr. Riley? I'm sorry, Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderberg?
Yes.
Dr. Burkina?
No.
Mr. Faino?
Yes. Motion carries. I think the biggest thing is, Mr. Cook, you know how to do your scheduling for the rest of this year?
Thank you very much.
And John, you know what we have to do for next year. Moving on. Under policy, we had various policies listed. I believe we can take all them. We can move under finance. We have payments of bills, the voided checks, treasurer's report, and I'll stop at that point in case there's any future questions. Can I have a motion for all those items?
Motion, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? The next one is on here, and I don't know that there's any issues, but I just figured I'd break it down. Renewal of the Sodexo Food Service Management Contract. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
we have the bids for the athletic equipment, supplies and training supplies. Can we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? I was asked to pull the sports medicine services, so that will be coming back up next month.
Thank you.
Okay, we're looking at changing to the July meeting from when it was scheduled July 30th to July 23rd. If we can have a motion for that?
Motion.
Do I have a
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Not many comments on that. All those in favor, aye?
Just, Mr. President, I just want you to know, I did inform you that I have an operation scheduled that day, so.
Correct. Eastern Area Public Library, you'll notice that there's 2 openings, but one person has asked to be reappointed, Margaret Kuvo. Can we have a motion for the appointment of Margaret Kuvo?
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? At this point, if there's somebody in the audience that would like to address the board, I ask that you please come forward to the podium. Please state your name and address, and also sign the log. I am seeing no hands. Therefore, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. So moved.
I didn't ask if there's any other board member business. Is there anything?
Return.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?